Remember all of these from Cowgirl Yarns? I have finally turned them into these. I'm going to show you all of the squares that I've made, what I think about them. We had all of these mini hanks that I had to wind up by hand, which took me longer than it should have. I just wasn't motivated at all to crochet. Finally, I said, you know what? I've got all of these hanks of yarn. Let's just cake them up and I can start making some squares. So I did. So let's take a look at each of these individually. So here is this colorway. It's that sort of dark and brown with some gray and blue in it. Now this little cake is a little bit messed up from me just working off of it. I believe this colorway was called Professor, but I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look. So here's what it looks like sort of caked up. And here are the squares. Look at how pretty that is. So there's one. There's another one. I was able to get 4 full granny squares, 5 rounds with a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. So I got 4 squares for each cake. And these are mini hanks, mini cakes. So they're not super big, but you get a lot. Especially for this project, it works out perfect. This is what I have left. The remaining yarn that I have, I'm going to continue working a granny. I might be able to get one more full one, I don't know. If not, I usually work a solid color around for the last however many rows I need. So I'm doing 5 rows. So usually it's probably the last like 2 rows, 1.5 rows around. I will have to add in a kind of a corresponding color for those last rows, which is kind of cool because then it gives it a nice border. So that's that one. All right, next up we've got this one. You can kind of see it's got some grays and some burgundy, a little bit of brown in there. Here is what the square looks like. Super pretty. There's one. There's another one. Just look at how cool those colors come out in these squares. I am so happy with this project. One more. And this colorway is Undaunted. Here's another one. This one is much lighter. We've got some blues, some coral, some peach, white. This one is called Dawn Storm. And here is the matching square. Super, super pretty. And if you're interested in any of these yarns, you can find them on Cowgirl Yarns. I will link that down below. They have a wonderful selection on their website as well. And they do have a brick and mortar shop. They are located in Laramie, Wyoming. Next up, we've got this one. This one is Corpse Bride. So if you've seen the movie, you will be familiar with this colorway. We've got some grays and blues and whites, and corresponding with Emily, the main character in that movie, Corpse Bride, her colors are very much like this. And here is the square. Again, super pretty. I just love how these squares are working up. And one more. So again, I've gotten 4 squares for each of these mini cakes of yarn, which works out perfectly. All right, next up, this one is called Jack and Sally, again from a movie, Nightmare Before Halloween. We've got mostly Sally colors in here. I would say, from her dress. She's got kind of a patchworky sort of dress, some oranges and blues, and there's just a little bit of green in there too, some grays. And look at these squares. Wow, I just can't get over how cool these squares are. And something like this would be really good for patchwork. If you made a bunch of squares and you put them together with these random kind of colors. Super, super pretty, super cool, very unique. So that is Jack and Sally. And finally, I've got this one, Blood of My Enemies. We've got some reds and a little bit of orange, some blues. This one was really pretty, all wound up. Let's look at the square. That red and the blue, they just pop, and then you've got a little bit of that orange and darker red and even a brown in there that sort of pulls everything together. And I just love this kind of yarn because it does show you what colors you can put together without, you know, a self-striping or a variegated type of yarn. You could easily put a red and a blue and some of these brown and tans together in a project individually, and all together they would look really cool like this. But you may not originally think to put these colors together. So again, very pretty, worked up into these squares. So here's all of my squares for this cowgirl yarn portion of my blanket. I hope you enjoyed looking at how these yarns worked up. Like I said, if you're interested, please check out the website, or if you're in Laramie, Wyoming, check out her physical store and see what she has available. So until next time, happy granny square and blanket making, everyone, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.